Welcome back, everybody. Just a few hours ago, Kwon and the Luna team released a new plan. We're going to be running through the details, breaking down the important points, because I think this could be the best chance Luna has at a comeback. So let's dive right in. First of all, we all know, since the debacle a couple of days ago, basically Luna has arrived at zero essentially here and has kind of flatlined over the last couple of days. The UST stablecoin, the Terra peg, this has not returned even remotely close to $1. We've been fluctuating between 18 cents and 15 cents over the last couple of days since the initial meltdown. But initially, when this actually happened, Terra and Kwon, the rest of the team, released this kind of initial emergency threefold action plan that they were going to take action on before actually doing anything else, right? So here are the initial three proposals. So first of all, they were going to burn the remaining UST in the community pool. They were going to burn the remaining 371 million UST cross-chain on Ethereum. And then this they actually did. The last two, I believe they tried but did not succeed at, but they staked 240 million Luna tokens to defend from network governance attacks. Now, this was a great kind of response to the initial kind of emergency, frantic reaction from the community. But at the same time, this wasn't anything long-term and didn't really restore too much confidence in Kwon and the rest of the Luna team. So just a few hours back, Kwon and his team released this more comprehensive plan, and we're going to walk through this and kind of point out the most important aspects of it and dive into what you guys need to know. So first of all, where this all started from, and this is kind of what Kwon details here in the first couple of sentences, but basically the community and validator groups were discussing the launch of a fork of the Terra chain, meaning they're going to take the actual data, the actual development of the Terra chain, copy that code, and make a new ecosystem that's separate from this kind of UST depegging event, essentially creating a new project. Now, he says that this is necessary because even if the peg were to eventually restore after the last marginal buyers and sellers have capitulated, the holders of Luna have so severely been liquidated and diluted that they will lack the ecosystem to build back up from the ashes. And so while a decentralized economy does need decentralized money, UST, the stablecoin, has lost too much trust with its users to play the role. And he's totally right here. You saw this kind of capitulation across crypto, a loss of trust in other crypto projects. We even saw Tether depeg a bit that same day. I think it dropped a few points, which isn't out of the norm, but you could see the effect on the trust of stablecoins, people pulling out to go to USDC or just straight cash and put it back into their bank account. But nonetheless, it did affect trust not only in UST but across the whole crypto market. Now, what he's going to lay out here are just a couple of things that he wants this fork to take with it and why he thinks there should be a fork built on Terra and not necessarily an entire different project with a totally different brand, but a different project with the same brand. So here he's talking about how they built up one of the largest and most vibrant developer ecosystems, and this is totally spot on. This is why you saw a capitulation across the entire crypto market when UST started to fall, because UST and Luna are involved in so many different DeFi protocols, so many different projects that when this went down, everything else followed, right? So he's totally right. When they're supporting such a large ecosystem of great projects, he wants us to continue on. And the second piece is that Terra Station has a large install base with 1 million plus users across the world. Again, millions of people have interacted with Terra. It's not something that you can just build up from scratch with no issues, right? So he wants to make sure that they're piggybacking off of this success and taking that to the next level. Now let's get into the really interesting part, which is kind of the specifics of the supply breakdown, what the plan is, and the way forward. So here we go. The main thing that I want to point out before we dive in here is that the network ownership is going to be 1 billion tokens to be distributed for this new project and the revival of Luna. If we look back here, it's almost... I'm laughing because it's almost like a meme here, but we have 6.5 trillion Luna currently circulating, meaning there is literally no reason. It's such a supply heavy side coin that there's no reason or no demand to even buy it. So that's why we're seeing literally no upwards price pressure here, and also because it collapsed. But at the same time, to have a total max supply of 6.9 trillion is just insanity. So it's very, very clear to everyone, especially Do Kwon, that this needs to be brought down. So he's saying this new kind of fork of Terra Luna will have 1 billion tokens, and this is how he's going to break down kind of the initial distribution. So 400 million tokens, about 40%, are going to go to Luna holders that had Luna before the depegging event. So he's going to qualify this as the last $1 tick before the depeg on Binance. Now, the idea here is that it's going to reward people who were holding Luna through this, holding it, prior to the depegging event, and getting them back with some of this Luna distribution. Now, another 40% is and 400 million tokens is going to UST holders pro rata at the time of the new network upgrade. So there was a patch that was installed a few days ago, and now it's really saying that he wants to make UST holders to be made whole as possible, because after this update, they were promising a lot of fixes, and then obviously it fell out of the sky. So he wants to make them as whole as possible, which I think he's doing the right thing there. Now, the next piece here, another 100 million or 10% is going to go to Luna holders at the final moment of the chain halt. And we covered this in the last video I did, but the actual Terra blockchain was halted yesterday, and it took an hour or two for it to come back. And so the idea here is that the last minute marginal Luna buyers should be compensated for their role in attempting to provide stability for the network. So even when it was not necessarily in their economic best interest, meaning the Luna holders, they still held on to it, and Do Kwon wants to reward that. Now, the final 10% or 100 million left here are going to go to the community pool to fund future development. Now, this is to obviously, throw money at any emergencies that arise, but also build out what the future of this forked Luna project is going to look like, so that they don't need to all of a sudden grab liquid from somewhere else. So all Luna besides the third tranche, so all Luna that is left over after this, is going to be staked in a network genesis state, meaning it's going to be staked right away. It's not gonna, it's not gonna go to someone's wallet and then they have to stake it, right? So the idea is that it's gonna be staked right away. It's gonna lock up a certain level of that supply. Now, the next piece here to wrap this off is that the network should incentivize its security with a reasonable inflation rate. I don't know, I don't create projects. I don't create crypto projects. I don't know how to build a blockchain, but 7% seems like quite a pretty hefty inflation rate. But at the same time, he's saying no fees will no longer be enough to pay for security without the swap fees. So that's what he's trying to make up with this 7%, is because essentially there is going, at least right now, there is not going to be a Terra swap. There were a lot of swap fees that went to Luna off of Terra swap. Terra swap was a pretty popular DeFi protocol, pretty popular way to swap in and out of UST and Luna. So now that that's going to be going away, and they probably need to build a new one, that's where he's saying this inflation rate needs to cover that. Now that we've broken down kind of where this initial 1 billion tokens is going to go and why, let's kind of get into, the call to action, the reasoning behind this. Why is Do Kwon doing this, and kind of what does the future of the Terra network look like? First of all, and he kind of pointed towards this, alluded to this in the beginning of this plan, but he wants to redistribute this amongst mostly the holders, because they need to own a large share of the network. As the network's debt holders, they deserve to be compensated. And I could not agree with that more. If they're taking that risk and they're holding most of the network up, and they're most of the network debt holders, they need to, at least be compensated for what's happened with this downfall. So I think that he's doing the right thing there. But the next piece here is pretty critical in terms of how he sees the future of the Terra network surviving. So first of all, and we actually brought this up in one of our last Terra Luna videos, but the idea of UST was right on the money, right? So a decentralized economy needs decentralized money. And this is an awesome vision. It just was that UST could not succeed in the way they did. It turned out to be more of a Ponzi, economics kind of model. And hopefully they can reiterate on that. So what he is saying is that the priority now is to preserve this amazing ecosystem and to make as many users and builders as possible out of it. So the first goal is to preserve its layer 1 so that people can continue to build dApps on top of it and additional protocols. And then also the community should gather to discuss decentralized money once the dust has settled. So there isn't necessarily a ironed out step-by-step plan, but this is essentially the most accurate, most detailed framework that Terra Luna has released since this whole debacle. So the idea is the community is going to rally around this. They're going to essentially use this framework and build off this, iterate on it, and eventually what we're going to likely see is an entirely new Luna project that may not be branded as Luna, but is a fork of the Terra chain. So I'm going to withdraw that last statement. They'll probably use the branding of Luna because it's powerful, it's known, but at the same time, they're going to go up against the fact that it also went through this. So there is a stain on the brand as well. So it's yet to be seen what this new fork of the Terra chain is going to be called, but it's safe to say that they're determined to bring this back. The community sounds pretty determined. As I've been going through Twitter, as I've been talking with other people, people are passionate about this project and they want to see it survive. So I'm interested to see what happens. I personally don't know if they can make a comeback, but this certainly is their best chance. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm actually really, really curious. And thank you all for the support recently. Let me know what other projects you want me to cover. And thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.